Hi guys, and welcome to our sort of second sales nugget for Suzuki Marine. Last time we spoke about activations and all that sort of stuff, but we thought that we would come back and sort of give you guys some more ideas, motivation, and just get the ball rolling, eh, Pete?
Yeah, I think it's important for everybody to understand that on the one hand, this might seem like a bit of a daunting task, but I think there's some very practical things that we can suggest that everybody does to lure those customers into their stores or their clubs or some of the other activations that we spoke about.
Right, so let's start with maybe a bit of a success story, okay? Although it might be automotive related, I think it's fair to look at our cousins and what they do. And you guys are actually running something in Australia from here, in South Africa.
Yeah,
right?
believe it or not, yeah.
So talk to us about it.
So what we tend to do in the motor industry, and we haven't done it for a while in South Africa, which I think is a bit of a pity, is the Australians are very, very big on running carnivals. They have carnivals at their dealerships and everything that goes with those carnivals. So everybody in Australia knows that when a dealer has a carnival, that there's a special that's going to be that's going to be had. So the Australian public are used to this, and I think there's a key thing there.
Yeah.
That
So consistency is
there's
important.
consistency. It's
Yeah.
a regular thing. And what we do for the Australian dealers is that we actually proactively phone up their customer database.
Yeah.
And you know the reason why it's successful is because one of the benefits of having these carnivals, of course, and again the benefit of having an activation where you're getting your customer into your store, is of course your closing rates are going to be so much higher.
Absolutely. Because online closing ratios versus face-to-face closing ratios differ vastly, right?
Vastly. So online closing ratios that we measure in the motor industry, and I mean we deal with about 300,000 leads a year through our call center. We're looking at about a 1% closing rate, which is not great.
Yeah.
So a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of marketing for a 1% closing rate. Versus somebody that comes in on the showroom floor, we measure closing rates on average of around about 12.5%.
Yeah.
And therein, I think, lies the real opportunity and the benefit.
Okay, so I think I'm a numbers kind of guy, so I would like to hear some figures. So talk to me about what must I do and what kind of return can I see on my investment?
So let's go back to our Australian cousins in the motor industry and the carnival example. Typically, if we make, I'll just give you last night's stats, for example.
Okay.
We did around 800 calls out to customers. We don't get hold of everybody. We have about a 60% success rate in contacting customers. So if we take 800 people that we try to phone, 60% contact rate gives us around about 480 people that we physically were able to phone.
Yeah.
Out of that, we get anywhere between 20 and 30% of the 480 to commit to an appointment at the dealership.
So they will actually arrive at the dealership.
Yeah, and in fact, just to show you just how involved they are, we even give them a time slot with a specific sales executive. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So there's commitment from both the customer as well as the dealership with us. So you know if you're getting, let's say, an average of 25% of people to commit, you know, then you've got 120 people that are going to rock up hopefully at the dealership. And now let's go back to our 12.5% closing rate on that 120. We're looking at around 15 sales. And that's why the Australian dealers still, to this day, spend an enormous amount of time, effort and money on these carnivals simply because it works. Okay, so finally, that's an automotive example. What are we going to do for the marine dealers to entice their customers, and especially new customers, to come in for their activations?
Okay, Pete, I know that this is an automotive example. I understand that, but the principles will stay the same. And I think that's the key that we can take away from this. I think the approach that the Australians here are taking, where it's a personal invite, first of all. So I think I would actually even step it up. The marine stores can actually, obviously everybody's got an existing database that they can tap into. So I would start my activation by actually inviting my existing database. That's a very good, easy way to start.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have to actually get our existing database to bring new people in as well.
And that's very important because we do obviously appreciate the fact that your existing customers have a relatively long repurchase cycle.
Correct.
You know, so we're looking at, you know, on a retail customer, a sport customer, 20 years sometimes,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
between 10 and 20 years. So we can't just rely on our existing
Correct. We
database.
need to get new people in, but tapping into the existing database to actually bring new people to the store is what we're trying to do.
So kind of bring a buddy with you.
Correct.
Okay.
But incentivize them. Think of ways to get new people to come in. But I think the approach here is still the personal approach. You know, Pete, I see that a lot of activations is marketed on social media and radio stations, and you know that approach is unfortunately a little bit too high level. There's not enough personal attention here. So I would start with my database. I would start with written invitations, so email campaigns, WhatsApp campaigns, getting the information out to the people, and then most importantly, follow up with a phone call to actually give the guy a personal invite to come in to the store and actually come into that activation.
And I think the psychology behind that mustn't be underestimated. That phone call ticks off one of the 6 factors that influence people to say yes, by the way, which is reciprocity.
Yes.
You know, you send them out a nice invite, you entice them in with a special offer or something that they're going to get out of this.
Yeah.
And when you make that phone call and it's personalized, customers are more likely to say
And we
yes.
spoke about some examples in the previous video, so I don't think we're going to go into different examples of what we can do. But I think the strategy now is to get this message of our activation out to different people. So another idea that I would probably tap into is getting partnering up with local businesses in your area. That's probably, you know, sort of similar to you or in the same sort of line to what you guys are doing. So if it's a lifestyle type of store, whatever the case is, we can tap into their database, get their people to come to our store.
And that includes your local club.
Correct.
So you can collaborate with your local club. They've got a database of members that aren't necessarily the same as your database.
Correct.
You can tap into that.
Absolutely. And then the last thing that I would probably do is get involved with community projects. People like to see that you're actually involved in your community, that you're not there just to take, but also to give some. And that will also get you the exposure to people that are involved with those kind of community events. I know that, you know, clean up the ocean type of stuff's happening at the moment, and that you guys are involved with that. But I would really tap into that.
For sure, and there's even a financial benefit for you for corporate social responsibility.
Correct.
You know, so you can make this efficient and effective at the same time.
Awesome.
All right, so Fani, we've managed to convince the dealers to go out and get these databases and start communicating with the customers on a personal basis. It's successful.
Yeah.
Now the customers are coming into the activations. What are we going to do on the day?
Yeah, so now this Jack Russell has actually caught the bus, right? Now what do we have to do? Okay, so on the day, I think the most important thing is to remember that we need to add value to people's lives, right? So have interactive displays, have interactive activities where the customers can, obviously maybe even educational type of stuff where the customer can learn something, where we're adding really value to their lives. That's the one thing. Another very, very successful way to influence people to say yes is to create scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
So why not, as part of this activation that we're having at the store, why don't we have exclusive offers only available to the customers that are there, first of all, and only available for the time that the activation's on?
Oh, I love that, because I think one of the things that a lot of the marine dealers perhaps have as a challenge is the concept of the customers taking a quote and horse trading around from one dealer to the next.
That eliminates that problem completely.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing that I would really make sure to really tie this whole thing together is remember that we are a lifestyle type of store and environment. So include the family, include the wives, include the husbands, include the kids, everybody. There must be something for everybody to do. Otherwise, they might just end up doing something else on the day.
Okay, so Fani, thanks very much for that. I think that's very valuable advice. And I think I'd like to really reiterate to everybody out there that the stuff that we've spoken about is not theoretical.
Yeah.
You know, this is stuff that we do on a daily basis in our particular jobs, and we are seeing the success stories coming out of this. So I think that it's relevant for everybody to understand.
I think, Pete, ultimately, and this will be sort of my closing, is that it's successful because it's consistent, okay? So consistency is key. As soon as customers get into a habit of understanding that there's something to look forward to, That will also add to the success of your activations. And then lastly, maybe just to give sort of this direction to you guys, I think try and get one proper activation, but do it properly every quarter at least for a start.
For sure, and I think you'll get better at it. You'll
Absolutely.
learn from those activations. You'll learn what works and what doesn't work in your particular area. So I have no doubt that that's the right advice. And I think, post that, for future videos, what I think we should talk about perhaps is some post-event strategies.
Yes.
So some of the follow-ups and sharing of success stories I think is very important.
Yep.
And then I think there's certainly going to be place for us to have a look at some of the online presences that you guys have and enhancing that presence.
I'm looking forward to that.
So leveraging social media influencers, for
Yeah.
example, there's some stuff that we're going to talk about that, and of course content marketing, which is your favorite subject.
That's it. Right,
All right.
guys, have a good one.
Until then, cheers everybody.